How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. So this is not a video that I actually planned to make, but I'm going to make it anyway. So let's just get straight into it. So as a general rule of thumb, I try to keep this channel pretty much all Celtic. I don't really focus on any other club. I don't really focus that much on Rangers at all, because I think if you keep it in-house, you focus on your own stuff, then there's absolutely no point in political point scoring when it comes to different clubs, because I care about Celtic. That's all I care about. I don't really care all that much about Rangers, but I'm going to break that rule today because the story I'm covering is the story of Glen Kamara, who was apparently racially abused against Slavia Prague last night in the Europa League. There's two sides to the story that I want to cover. There's the reaction from Celtic fans on Twitter, which was essentially saying that it was a made-up story in order to keep the reaction off Kamara Roof. And then the second side, which is a much more darker side, in my opinion, and that is that he almost deserved to do it, to be racially abused because of certain things that Rangers fans have done in the past towards other clubs and towards other clubs' players. So let's start with the Kamara Roof tackle. Firstly, you can believe that that was a bad tackle, and you can also believe that it was bad for a Rangers player to be racially abused. Those things are not mutually exclusive. You can believe both. But secondly, I do want to touch on the media aspect of it, because my background's in media, so I can maybe explain it to you a little bit better. So this is a story. This is how journalism is done. This is how stories are made. Generally, as a rule of thumb, this is the rule that you follow, whether it's football, whether it's politics. This is how it's done. It's done with what's called the inverted pyramid, and that is the most important things go at the top. So, for example, in a match report, you wouldn't lead with the fact that there was a bad tackle on the 51st minute. You'd lead with the score or the biggest story. In this case, Kamara Roof's tackle is pretty horrendous, so you think maybe that might be the lead. And that was probably argued, was it? Until Glen Kamara came out and said he was racially abused. Racism, and racism on a football pitch, transcends football, so it is automatically the biggest story, regardless of how bad that tackle was. Tackles, bad tackles, malicious tackles, they happen in most football matches. They happen very often. There's red cards all the time in all games. So somebody being racially abused is a much bigger story than that, even though Kamara Roof's tackle was absolutely horrendous. So automatically, Glen Kamara being racially abused goes to the top, because it is a horrendous thing regardless of whether it's football. It transcends football. It goes beyond football. It's a societal issue. So that is why the Glen Kamara racial incident was covered more than the Kamara Roof incident. It's fairly simple. The second thing that I want to talk about, and I do want to say that it was not all Celtic fans, because there were a lot of Celtic accounts and a lot of quite big Celtic accounts that came out and said it was absolute bullshit that Glen Kamara had to put up with that. So I do want to put that as a little caveat before we get into this. The second, the part of Celtic Twitter that I'm talking about is the part that said, or were saying, that Glen Kamara essentially deserved to be racially abused because of certain things that go on and have been said and have been sung by Rangers fans. Rangers fans are probably going to get abused for this, but you have to hold your hands up and say that some things that were sung in the past and currently, and some banners about Fenians, about the sectarian chants, about the historical events that happened, they are sectarian and they are racist. They are wrong. But that happens on Celtic side as well. And the point that I would make is that it's absolutely nonsensical for that still to be happening, for that still to be a thing, for that still to be a stone that both fans throw at each other. Because Kamara Roof, Glen Kamara, they are not playing for King Billy. They are not playing for the Queen. They are not playing for Rule Britannia or the United Kingdom. They're playing for Rangers, and they get paid to do so. It's their job. They'll go and play somewhere else, and they will do it because they're getting paid to do it. But likewise, Scott Brown, Odson Edouard, Barcat, whoever you want to pick out of the side, they are not playing for the Six Counties or for United Ireland or for the IRA or for anything that happened in Ireland in the past. They're playing for Celtic Football Club as professional athletes who are getting paid to do so. And the political point scoring between the two sides is always something that I was slightly weary about and felt weird about it, because I come from a part of Donegal that would be quite Republican. And in the past, yes, I'll hold my hand up when I was 16, 17. You know what? Maybe I've said a few things in the past that I'm not really that proud of now, because I don't really believe in republicanism or in political point scoring or politics being involved in football at all. Because football is used by people in the political class who want to drive their political agenda as a breeding ground for these sort of policies, for these sort of feelings. And it's a very easy place to infiltrate, because that is why you see quite a lot of right-wing politics involved in football in the likes of Croatia, in Prague, in Italy, in the ultra movement. And I've covered this with a couple of people on a show that I host in Off the Ball. But you need to separate that from football at some point in time. And the Glasgow Derby, or the Old Firm, whatever you want to believe it's called, it has nothing to do with Ireland, the United Ireland, the United Kingdom, Brexit, whatever the Battle of the Boyne, because that's what some of the chants are about. You know, and to say that Rangers fans do not sing sectarian songs is wrong. But to say the Celtic fans do not sing sectarian songs is also wrong. But to say that it is okay to do so because the other side is doing it is just as bad as doing it, because it's not okay. And the moment that we realize that the only way that we're going to actually separate ourselves from this shit is by calling it out, calling it what it is. It's sectarianism, it's racism, and we would not like it being done to any of our players. So we should be calling it out when it happens to their players too. Because it is not a Rangers issue, it's a societal issue, it's a human being issue. Glen Kamara is a human being who was racially abused or allegedly racially abused on the pitch for playing football. And that goes beyond the blue, white and red jersey that he was playing in that game. That goes beyond that. And I couldn't care less whether he was strapped in a Union Jack. If he was racially abused for the colour of his skin while playing football, it is wrong. And we should be calling that out. And as Celtic fans, instead of saying, well, they sing songs about being up to their knees in Fenian blood, then we should be doing the same. No, we shouldn't. We should be stepping back and saying, we're not going to do that. We're better than that. And likewise, the Rangers fans who want to throw that stone at Celtic fans as well. If there's Rangers fans watching this, if you think that, I'm going to sing that song because they sing this song, then you're as bad as them for doing that. So going into this game this weekend, I've just got a bit of tiredness from all this. And I hope that Glen Kamara is okay. I hope that what was said to him wasn't too bad. And I hope that this will be called out completely from a football fan base perspective. Whether that's Celtic fans, whether that's Rangers fans, whether that's bloody Liverpool fans. This should be called out all across the board for what it is, racism, and racism is wrong.